Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFO DFS Report. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. We made it to the end of the week. It's November 3rd. Sorry for not coming live yesterday. As you can see by my getup, been building a garage outside, and cement guys were here yesterday pouring the cement, and I was outside dealing with all of that. And it just didn't work out with a 12-game slate. I was super busy and was just out there and realized it was 4:55. I better get inside and go live. So I didn't have time to change. So here we are. Looks like I'm dressed for a blizzard, but we're not. We're inside and ready to rock. So we got a 2-game slate in our hands for this Tuesday or Friday slate, excuse me. And pretty boring looking slate, all things considered. But I mean, it could be fun. These could be two pretty high scoring games, at least, which will make things interesting. So we'll go through, we'll break down, both sides, all four sides, and try to figure out where the best places are to go here on a small kind of crappy 2-game slate. So let's get right into it with the goaltenders. We got Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen starting for the Buffalo Sabres. Samuel Ersson will go for the Philadelphia Flyers. If you don't know, Carter Hart is out, expected to miss some time for the Flyers. I'm unclear exactly how much time, but he is expected to miss some time. So Ersson will go tonight, and then I imagine it'll be Cal Peterson to get the call tomorrow. The Blues will go with Jordan Binnington. We're expecting to see Akira Schmid for the New Jersey Devils. Vitek Vanacek went last night. The Blues, if you can believe it or not, are the worst in the NHL in terms of expected goals for per 60, which is hilarious when you consider the fact that the San Jose Sharks exist. So if there was ever kind of a get right spot or a bounce back spot for Akira Schmid, this looks like the game to do that. Vancouver 2 did their thing. Yeah, Vancouver, I mean, 10-1 is just hilarious. I played a bunch of them last night, and obviously that went extremely well. So I wish I would have got to do a show yesterday because I had a pretty good night. Unfortunately, probably would have steered you guys in a better direction. Hopefully, you guys still had a big night with the charts. But here we go. Van Onslaught stack was good yesterday. My goalies sucked though. Yeah, goalie was a little difficult yesterday. Goalie's a little difficult again tonight. But let's break things down. Let's get into it with the implied totals first. The Buffalo Sabres and New Jersey Devils are pretty sizable favorites, both around the minus 150 mark. At 3.8 and 3.7 implied totals. The Blues at 3 and the Flyers at 2.9. I bet the Flyers first thing this morning. Seemed like a good line to get the Flyers, and then Sean Couturier got ruled out. I don't feel quite as good about the Flyers without Sean Couturier, but it should still be a decent matchup for them, especially given the line. Like plus 150 was a little wild, considering they were like minus 109 on home ice. Now Ersson and the road, like if you're telling me that's worth 60 cents, I'd say you're crazy. So no Couturier though probably gets you closer to that plus 150. So I'm not quite as high on him as I was at the start of the day, but still I like the Flyers tonight. But if you take a look at the implied totals here, obviously the DFO totals have me a lot closer on this Flyers Sabres game. The New Jersey Devils just look like they're going to absolutely slaughter the St. Louis Blues. So let's break things down. We got the 5v5 scores first. Again, if you haven't been watching the last few episodes or last few days, and you've been using the charts and you're like, what's going on here? The projections here are just raw projections. They have nothing to do with the 5v5 score whatsoever. And to me, I think it gives you a fine balance in between, the 5v5 score and the actual raw projection, because they're two totally different things, and they can give you an idea of how to, a couple different ideas on who the best plays are tonight. So New Jersey 1 comes out not only on top of the 5v5 score, but also on top of the projections. Buffalo 2 comes out second in the projections and second in the 5v5 score. So those guys look pretty good this evening. Both those lines play pretty good. Hart, what is your DK handle, Brock? Unfortunately, I live in Ontario, so I cannot play on DK. So yeah, there's that. I'm on Owner's Box. Been doing really well over at Owner's Box. I do have a friend that, I play like one DK lineup a night just to get it out there, give it to my buddy just to see how it goes, because I can't play in Ontario. So we're still stuck in that little shithole, which is Their shit show, I should say. So that's pretty brutal. Adam Fox, long-term IR. Nothing to do with tonight's slate, but that's absolutely brutal news for the New York Rangers. But yeah, my handle, I believe, was Seguin 77. If I remember correctly, I don't know. It's been like over a year since I've been able to play DraftKings on my own. So unfortunately, yeah, if you're in Ontario and you want to play Owner's Box is pretty good. You'll have to beat me though, and I've been just kicking ass over there. So come on over if you want. I mean, if you're American, you can play too. If you live out west, you can play Owner's Box still. But they aren't even paying me to tell you that. Um, this is just me being a nice guy. So yeah, New Jersey and Buffalo. New Jersey 1 and Buffalo 2 look really good tonight. New Jersey 2 also grades out pretty well in terms of the raw projection. New Jersey 2, not quite as good. But let's break things down here from a 5v5 standpoint, and we'll move on. So matchups, Buffalo doesn't look great for Buffalo 1. It didn't look good the other night either, and they played really, really well. They're one of the best lines on the slate. I just want to pull up that game because it's interesting. Like, obviously, the matchups are going to be completely different tonight, but the Flyers actually not dominated, but they carried the majority of that play, specifically at 5v5. In that game, they just can't get any good goaltending right now. So that's why I liked the Flyers tonight. Like, they've been playing pretty well. I was really excited to run it back with Tippett, Couturier, and Atkinson because, like, obviously they were super high the other night, and then they didn't really produce. I think Atkinson scored, but like they didn't do much. But they were just so dominant in that game. Like, they had an 81.5 Corsi 4. 5 scoring chances, 2 high danger. Like, they had a pretty good game, and I was ready to run it back. And then when Couturier got ruled out, there wasn't much we could do about that. The one issue here with the Flyers and kind of breaking down this game is with Couturier out, they didn't run lines in the morning skate. So I'm not 100% sure what the lines are going to look like. Also, New Jersey's, they look phenomenal. So I've projected that Scott Laughton moves up from the fourth line and center Tippett and Atkinson. I don't know 100% if that's going to be true. It's the most logical thing to do. They kind of roll like 3 lines deep and 4 lines deep, but like the top 9 all plays about the same ice time. So it would make sense that they kind of just continue to give Tippett and Atkinson the same amount of ice time as they did with Couturier, and just put Laughton in there, especially because it's not on home ice either, so they don't have to worry too much about matchups. So that's the most logical thing to do, in my opinion. But again, I don't know 100% that these lines will remain intact. But Konechny, Frost, and Forrester have been together for a few games. Farabee, Cates, and Bobby Brink have been together for a few games. So I'd imagine they'll try to keep those lines together because, like I said, they've played pretty well. So just a guess makes things a little bit more difficult to break down. Obviously, this being the first game of the night at 7, we'll get an answer right away in warmups, and we'll be able to pivot if we need to. But based on the 5v5 matchups here, it looks like Buffalo 2's got the best matchup for the Sabres, which makes sense when you factor in that they consider, that they're the second best line here. So overall, they also have the best 5v5 numbers of the Sabres lines as well. Overall, second best offensive numbers on the slate. So that's why they look good. They also have been playing more than Buffalo 1. As I mentioned, I'll say it one more time. The Sabres came out and said they don't just have one top line with Tage Thompson. They've got 2 with the Middlestad line. So they like what they've got in this Middlestad line. They're going to play them a lot. And, if they continue to have the success that they have had, like 40 scoring chances, 16 high danger, that's really, really good stuff. They had a pretty good game against the Flyers the other night. Let's take a look here at what they did. So, yeah, they played by far the most. They actually got caved in pretty bad, but they still scored. They still generated some quality scoring chances. So yeah, that's actually surprising. They had a 28.5 Corsi 4, but they look pretty good. I'm not going to get too worried about one individual game. I don't think that they'll probably end up getting caved in again tonight. Just want to see who they face most of the time. They went up against the Farabee, Brink, Cates line the majority of the night the other night and didn't have a whole lot of success. What do the matchups say tonight? A mixed bag. So yeah, they should avoid that line. Only 19% against that line. So yeah, they should be in a much better spot tonight. I do like them to run it back. That being said, obviously Buffalo 1, is got a ton of firepower with Tage Thompson specifically. Brandon Bureau had 2 goals in his debut. So yeah, they look fine. I would probably just play Tage and Bureau. Leave Greenway off. If you want to play Greenway, that's fine. But overall, Buffalo 1 looks good. I would imagine Buffalo 2 sees slightly more ownership than Buffalo 1. But whenever you've got Tage Thompson on a line, they could have a big night. So Buffalo 2 grades out second. Buffalo 1 grades out eighth. Price-wise, Buffalo 1's a little bit more expensive. So I like them probably pretty equally because I do think Buffalo 2 sees more ownership just because they're easier to stack with New Jersey 1, who's going to be very chalky on this slate. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the Buffalo lines. I just think that you get great value out of this Buffalo 2 line. They're playing well. They're playing a ton. They just look out like to be in an outstanding spot. The other reason why I like Buffalo 1 and even Buffalo 3 for that matter, I wish Lucas Arusek was on the slate because he's actually really, really good. But Cousins and Tuck look like even a decent little mini stack. They're fairly expensive. But like with Airsun's been so bad between the pipes that there is reason to think that the Sabres could have all three lines go off tonight. You also still have Cousins and Tuck on the top power play unit. So Buffalo 3 will probably see way less ownership than Buffalo 1 and 2. The problem is matchup wise, it's not that great. 13 in the matchup score. They're going to see a lot of the Flyers top line, whoever that is. And they've just really struggled, Cousins and Tuck, when they don't have Skinner or Thompson on their line. They've just been really bad. So that's a little bit alarming, but at the end of the day, they still got that top power play unit to rely on as well. On a 2-game slate, if they're going to be like a third of the ownership of the top 2 lines, I have no problem playing some Buffalo 3 tonight, even in a tough matchup in a line that doesn't look like they're producing that much. I mean, Cousins and Tuck are obviously talented enough. For a 1-game sample, they could still have a big night. So I'm willing to play all 3 because Sam Ersson has been super, super bad, and I expect him to probably continue to be pretty bad. We saw it last year, but man, this year he just does not look good. Moving over to the Flyer side of things again, it's kind of hard for me to break down without knowing. Well, let's operate under the assumption that these are the lines, though, with Konechny, Frost, Forrester, Farabee, Cates, Bobby Brink, Tippett, Lawton, and Atkinson. Overall, the second line has the best matchup, but the top 9 all have pretty good matchups. You take a look at the offensive scores. The third line's actually the best. That's still the Cam Atkinson group. Even without Sean Couturier, they grade out really, really well. So I'm fine. I love the floor that you get. Like, even if you leave off... where is he? Even if you leave off Scott Lawton because you're not 100% sure he's going to be on that line, you don't have time to pivot late. Like Tippett and Atkinson have such quality floors because they shoot so much that I still like them even without Couturier. If you take a look in terms of like the shots on goal projection tonight, Tippett comes out second. Atkinson comes out what would be 8th. So a lot of shots on goal for both of those guys. I do like them quite a bit still in this game. Konechny obviously grades out very well in terms of shot volume as well. So let's take a look at the Konechny line. They've got quite a good matchup as well. 60 on the matchup score. That top line has been pretty mediocre. 8th out of 16 tonight offensively. So very, very good defensively. So still a really good line, just maybe not generating quite as much at 5v5. So yeah, I like that line quite a bit as well. Bobby Brink, Noah Cates, Joel Farabee. Like this game, man, could just get so high scoring if UPL doesn't have a big game. It was 5-2 the other night. I wouldn't be surprised if UPL struggles a little bit if it's another really high scoring game. So I think that the top 9 for both sides is in play. I know that's a bit of a cop-out, but to me, this game is like the one game that I really want to get some variety of if I'm building a lot of lineups, because I think that all, top 3 lines for each team really has a good opportunity to get on the score sheet. And then when you look at the other game, I have very little interest whatsoever in the St. Louis Blues. So that kind of takes me completely out on them. And then for New Jersey, it's really difficult to want to play anybody other than New Jersey 1. Without Nico Hischier in the lineup, New Jersey 2, while they still grade out pretty good, I'm not sold on a Michael McLeod second line. The third line hasn't really done anything. Mercer and Eric Howla, they're good players, but they haven't done anything yet this season. Curtis Lazar on the wing doesn't get me super excited. So to me, like I want to just kind of avoid St. Louis, because I do still think St. Louis is going to carry some ownership because they're super cheap. So St. Louis is going to carry ownership because of their price, and then you've got the fact that Schmid hasn't played all that well. So I'm willing to trust in Schmid. Understand that the Blues have been terrible offensively. Hopefully Schmid wins. New Jersey 1 pops, and then get a mix of Philly 1, 2, 3, Buffalo 1, 2, 3. Like that's the way I look at this slate. Like to me, New Jersey 1 is the best line by far on the slate. I want as much of them as I can get. And then I kind of want to mix and match what you get from Philadelphia and Buffalo, because I do think it's a quality matchup on both sides. And the way that their lines are, there's so much balance here. There's so much talent on each line that it's kind of difficult to pinpoint exactly which line's going to pop because they're so fragmented. So if I had to rank them, obviously Buffalo 2 is still my favorite from Buffalo. It would go Buffalo 2, Buffalo 1, Buffalo 3. From a Philly perspective, I think it's a little bit more difficult. Like I said, I really like the floor that you get from Tippett and Atkinson. So I am interested there if they're still together. But at the end of the day, Farabee, doesn't see a lot of power play time. Cates is on the second unit. Bobby Brinks on the first unit. So that one's a little bit more fragmented in terms of power play usage. And then the top line, you've got Konechny on one unit, and then you've got who knows who else is going to be on that top unit. Again, I projected Lawton just to move up just so I didn't have to change the second power play unit. Again, that could be completely wrong. They might mix up the units entirely. Tippett is probably the prime candidate to move up there. I just don't know who would play center in that spot. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts here with the Flyers. I think that I would probably go Philly 3, Philly 1, Philly 2 would be my order. Philly 2 actually comes out with the best overall projection. If you look at the actual raw projections, Philly 3 comes out on top, Philly 1 comes out second, and Philly 2 comes out third. So I hope I'm not getting too confusing here, but this game is just kind of very difficult to pinpoint exactly what's going to happen given the uncertainty that we have with the Philadelphia Flyers lineup. From a power play perspective, this is the third and fourth ranked power play advantages tonight. The Sabres have struggled on the power play, 27th. The Flyers have been super good on the kill, 5th. The Flyers are terrible on the power play as well, 30th up against the 7th ranked Buffalo Sabres penalty kills. So not a whole lot there. The one thing, the Sabres have really struggled to stay out of the box, which bodes well for the Philadelphia Flyers, who have done a pretty good job of drawing penalties. And meanwhile, the Philadelphia Flyers have done a very, very good job staying out of the penalty box tonight. So if this holds up, that's kind of why the Sabres don't have a very good power play. I love with the St. Louis power play ranked 32nd at 4%, still grades out second tonight. Yeah. So the reason behind that is the Devils have the worst penalty kill on the slate right now, 27th. So that obviously plays a factor. And then the fact that the Devils are taking a lot of penalties plays a factor as well, 3.8. So the St. Louis Blues power play is certainly not something I want to target. If you take a look here, the rank is strictly based off of expected goals. They're only expected for 0.08 more goals than the Philadelphia Flyers in the power play. So, I mean, you could make an argument that this is the third best, but the one that really looks like they're in trouble just due to the fact that they don't draw a lot of penalties. The Flyers don't take a lot of penalties is the Buffalo Sabres, excuse me. So, obviously the Flyers have the number one power play in the NHL right now, going up against the 15th ranked penalty kill. They are also drawing a ton of penalties. The Blues have been disciplined, but if the Devils get any opportunities tonight, it could be trouble for the Blues. Let's take a look now at this Blues game. Obviously, the top line. The last Blues game, they really went to this hard match. Line 1 versus line 1, line 2 versus line 2, line 3, line 4, which makes things a little bit easier to break down. So let's look at it here. First, we got the Robert Thomas line. Let me just pull up their lines here. They did shift things around a little bit. Saad with Shannon Kyrou, Buchnevich with Thomas and Kapanen. So we're going to see a lot of the Thomas line going head-to-head with the Jack Hughes line. The Thomas line has not been very good defensively, getting up 34 scoring chances against per 60. They're the 12th ranked defensive line in the slate. So they're going to have their hands full here with this Jack Hughes line. The Jack Hughes line just dominates puck possession, which means they have very good defensive numbers because the puck's just never in their end. So that basically takes St. Louis one off the table for me. They're going to go out there and probably get run over by this Jack Hughes line. So there's not going to be a whole lot of offensive zone time for St. Louis one. It's going to be very difficult for them to get anything going. Again, if these matchups change, they don't go with such a hard matchup, then obviously things could change. If they elect to go with St. Louis 2 against New Jersey 1, then that might open things up a little bit for St. Louis 1. But again, this is what they did last game, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do something similar tonight against the Devils. So St. Louis 2, they've been terrible offensively, and they go up against New Jersey 2, doing a pretty good job limiting scoring chances, but they've been giving up a ton of high danger chances. Again, St. Louis 2, only 7 high danger chances, 4 per 60. It seems like a line that's going to struggle to really even take advantage of a pretty decent matchup. So it's just the Blues, like they're so bad offensively. The fact that the Sharks are just like historically bad, but yet the Blues have somehow managed to have a lower expected goals for rate is super alarming. And then the Devils are obviously very good defensively. Like, look at this, the high danger chances, the scoring chances they give up, so minimal. I just don't have any interest in the Blues, which I mean, it's not a crazy flag to plant here because they've been so bad, but on a 2-game slate, obviously it's easy to get exposure to all 4 teams in case, of anything happening, but I just really don't care. Especially if the Blues are going to see ownership tonight, I'm happy to fade, anything that like fade any Blues that are going to be 20% owned tonight against these Devils. Meanwhile, the Devils, like I said, super good. The top line's ridiculous. 45 scoring chances, 4/60, 15 high danger. Jack Hughes seems to get on the board every single night. Tyler Toffoli's been a just unbelievable in New Jersey. Timo Meier has been kind of meh, but then Jesper Bratt is like literally, I think, tied for 4th in the NHL in scoring. He's on the second line. So Jesper Bratt's definitely interesting. I don't love the second line with Palat and McLeod. Like, they don't do a whole lot for me. McLeod's a fine, like, punt option because he's playing a little bit more now. He had 3 shots on goal in, like, 15 minutes in their last game. But, like, obviously, Bratt is interesting. If you want to try to stack these 4 together, or Toffoli, Hughes, and Bratt, that's fine with me. Full stacking New Jersey, too. Just there's not a lot of opportunity there. Like, obviously, this power play looks phenomenal. I'm happy to stack New Jersey's power play tonight. So, yeah, I'm pretty concentrated on New Jersey with just Toffoli, Hughes, Meier, Bratt, and then Luke Hughes. I'm pretty concentrated on that, and then mixing in some Buffalo and Philadelphia and just fading the Blues entirely. If I get burned by the Blues, so be it. I'm not that concerned about it. Then, as I said, obviously the top power play advantage on the slate. You take a look at the matchups for the Devils. The second line does have the best matchup on the slate. As I mentioned, they're going to see a lot of that Shen line, which has been just atrocious defensively. 38 scoring chances against per 60. Of course, he 43 and an expected goals for share of 35. So if you do want to pivot off the New Jersey 1 chalk, New Jersey 2 does have a really good matchup. They're going to be probably half the ownership of New Jersey 1. So it's a fine pivot. It obviously opens things up a lot as well. They're just 13,500. I just don't know what the ceiling is with Palat and McLeod. They're not super offensive. Obviously, I love Bratt, but is this line good enough to take advantage? Obviously, Bratt is. The other two, not so sure. So I think they're viable on a 2-game slate with the best matchup on the slate at discounted ownership. But I'm not 100% sold on their ceiling and upside. So doesn't seem like any reason to punt on the Blues. There's a very good team. Maybe tomorrow versus Montreal. Yeah, that's definitely a better matchup. The only thing the Blues do well is they don't take penalties. Yeah, which is surprising because they don't have the puck very often. So they're doing a pretty good job just staying disciplined despite never having the puck on their sticks. In terms of like punt forwards, I don't really go over this very often, but man, if you want to play New Jersey 1, you have to get weird with some of these punts, and there's not many. There's not many quality options here. We take a look at the value. Middlestad obviously seems super good tonight at 3,400. Morgan Frost is fine at 3,100. Forrester 31 is solid as well. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot. JJ Peterka is solid at 32. Where's Toropchenko playing tonight? He might be the one St. Louis Blue that's not the right team at all. Toropchenko moves up to the Hayes line. What's that Hayes line? Like 20 on the matchup score going up against New Jersey 3. New Jersey 3. That would be like the one line I think from St. Louis like I would take a chance on just from a pure value perspective, I guess. If we want to talk about St. Louis 3 a little bit. Toropchenko 2,500, Hayes 3K, Verona 41. That would be a value line I would maybe consider from St. Louis just on value alone. That's literally it. So from a punt perspective, as I was saying, Toropchenko's min price. Hayes, I think, is 3K. That is not how you spell Hayes. Hayes is 3K. Verona 41. Yeah, like I don't like it very much, but they're cheap as hell. So if you need to. Defenseman wise, man, there's very little. Very little. Robert Bertuzzo, no thank you. Guys playing like 10 minutes a night. Nick Seeler seems fine at 2,700. He's playing pretty big minutes lately. I think that's fine. Nick Seeler at 2,700. I would prefer Sean Walker, but he's 3,700. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to get there. I prefer Sean Walker. He's been looking pretty good lately, playing over 20 minutes a night on occasion. So he looks like one of the best punt options, but he's not that cheap at 37. Outside of Seeler, Clifton, I guess. Marino and Kevin Ball at least play a lot of minutes. I don't love either one of them, but there's just not a lot of value. Oh my God, I'm struggling here. There's not a lot of value here on this slate. So Ball and Marino, I guess, but yeah, man, there's not much. Zamula is still fine. Samuelson still plays a bunch of minutes for the Sabres. There's obviously a couple defensemen in the middle here that work out well, but My favorite defenseman overall, obviously, I still love Luke Hughes. I still love Travis Sanheim. They would be my two favorites. Owen Power looks pretty decent at 3,900. If I can get to Dahlin, great. It's going to be tough to fit Dahlin if you're playing New Jersey 1. From a goalie perspective, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen grades out the best. He's also the most expensive. I prefer Schmid at 7,800. The only concern with him is obviously the shot volume. Only projected to see 27 shots tonight. So that's the main issue with Schmid. Somebody in the comments just said, you must like Nick Seeler tonight. He is on the Blues and Devils and the Flyers PK. Huh? I don't understand. 2-gamer Binnington for all the money. I mean, yeah, that'll be contrarian for sure. But yeah, we've got. I think Schmid's probably my favorite. I do think this is a bounce back spot. I'm okay playing Ersson at 71. He's so cheap, and he wasn't that bad last year. So if he has a bounce back, I think he'll be fine. Certainly not my favorite. And obviously, if you're stacking St. Louis or you're game stacking Buffalo and Philadelphia and you're fading New Jersey, Binnington is viable on a 2-game slate. Don't get me wrong. I will have some Binnington in lines that I fade New Jersey, but they're going to be very few and far between that, if any. But yeah, you got to get weird, and I think Binnington's fine tonight if you're fading the Devils only. There's really no other, that's just to get different. I don't have high hopes for it, though. The Devils are just scoring so many goals. What's your favorite contrarian line? Need to get freaky on this slate. Favorite contrarian line is probably Philadelphia 3. Probably Philly 3 and Buffalo 3. I think they're both going to be super low owned. Probably Philly 3 and Buffalo 3 are my two favorite contrarian lines. I just think they're going to be so low owned, 8-9%, where the other lines are going to be 30%. So I think they're interesting. They're both talented enough to get the job done. They should both have solid enough floors. They both have players that play in the top power play units for their team. So I really like, if from a contrarian perspective, they're certainly not my favorite lines on the slate, but Philly 3 and Buffalo 3 are probably my two favorite contrarians. How many lineups do you build on a 2-game slate? All depends what the contests are. If there's good contests, I like actually building more lineups on a 2-game slate because there's just so much randomness. It's easier to pinpoint good spots on a big slate than it is to find the best spots on a small slate. Small slates just have so much more random events, random guys that score a goal that can turn an entire slate, where a bigger slate, it eliminates a little bit more of that randomness because there's just so many players scoring goals that it's easier to find yourself on the right track. So I actually like building more lineups on small slates and less lineups on big slates, if that makes sense. But my hat trick pick for tonight is going to be Jeff Skinner. I'll go with Jeff Skinner for the Buffalo Sabres as my hat trick pick, just to kind of balance out the fact that I bet on the Flyers before Couturier news. Anyways, please drop your hat trick picks in the comment section below. We had a Jonathan Marchessault hat trick last night. I don't think anybody got it. Please smash that like button for me as well. Hit the Sealer is on the buff PK2. Check DFO lines. I feel like you just messed with me last week. There's no way. Whoa. You're right. What is going on there? Okay. I feel you now. You weren't messing with me. That's funny. All right. Well, I'll have to I'll have to go fix that. I have no idea. What other power play? What other thing did he say he was on? Steelers on the Devils PK2? Wow. Look at Nick Seeler go. Huh. That's hilarious. Well, I'll get that fixed before too long. So hopefully that we can get that fixed quickly, because that's absolutely hilarious. I'll get my tech team on that one right away. But good luck tonight. He ain't on there for me. Weird. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. That's absolutely bizarre. I've never seen that in 10 years at Daily Faceoff. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys back here on Monday. I will try to do charts on Saturday, but I do have somewhere to be in the afternoon tomorrow, so chances are pretty slim. Again, check out 5v5hockey.com for their variation of these charts. So best of luck tonight. Hopefully you return. It's a hint to play Sealer. Yeah, I've actually punted Sealer in a few lineups I've built already tonight. So yeah, there you go. It's just reinforcing my love for Nick Sealer, which I never thought I would say on a DFS show. But here we go. Best of luck tonight, and we'll see you guys back here on Monday. Cheers.